Go.
PettyPrattle.com presents the Dirty Talk Podcast, your podcast home for all things soap. Welcome to Laundry Day for the Bold and the Beautiful, a recap of Bold and the Beautiful for the month of February 2024. We're your hosts, Angela and Toni, and we want to welcome you to our podcast. Hey, Ange.
Toni and everyone watching or listening, welcome. Welcome to our inaugural B&B
Podcast.
podcast. Yes, absolutely. So we're very excited to kick this off, and we're going to dive right in and talk about all the exciting things that happened on Bold and the Beautiful this month, February 2024.
Yeah, here's the thing. Got to be honest, Bold and the Beautiful has a tendency to be one of the shortest soaps and drag the longest. Yet, we did get some good stuff out of the month. So I guess we could just start at the top with Finn going into Power Ranger mode and saving the day for Eric with Bridget's help.
Yep.
Yeah, so Finn, he saves the day in the month of January, and then we're just watching the fallout. You know, all the follow-up tests, all of the family so happy. We get to have a party. And then Donna and Eric get engaged at that party and marry. So, yeah, the pacing on Bold and the Beautiful is unique.
It is.
What are your thoughts on that particular storyline?
Honestly, the part that has stood out for me the most with that storyline was Brooke reading from the Bible. I'm sorry. I love Brooke. You know that I'm a Brooke Logan fan.
Yes.
But that woman should be nowhere near a Bible. I mean, most soap opera characters should be nowhere near a Bible, but that one in particular.
My God. Literally was waiting for it to catch fire in her hands. Like, what?
And the fact that there wasn't even one snarky comment from Steffi.
I myself, just to stay in character, I would have been biting my lip trying not to laugh.
Right?
Just to stay in character.
It's like, really, I still have the screen caps from that, and it just makes me laugh every time. Every time. And she did it twice because she had the Bible at Eric's house with her and Rich and Steffi, and then she brought it to the hospital room. It was really the gift that kept on giving.
Yeah. I mean, and here's my thing. We are totally sex positive over here. Sex workers, you know, promiscuous people, hoes and harlots, love you all. You know, not Brooke for me, because I draw the line at disloyalty. I need a loyal hoe. I don't mind if you go through the entire football team as long as none of those members of the football team is your best friend's man or your sister's man. That's what
Daughter's man.
Or your daughter's man. Like, there's my issue is the loyalty of it, the lack of loyalty, not the hoeing in and of itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a problem for me. But you know, in and of itself, the sight of Brooke holding a Bible, it just doesn't seem to be one of those matchy things.
Right? And quite frankly, Belle may have to answer for that one someday with the big guy.
He's like, look, I get it's a TV show, and I get you're supposed to suspend disbelief.
But
really?
Yeah.
Was that necessary? And I was going to go a different direction with this, but I'm going to get one of the most stressful parts of the month out of the way now so that we don't have to think about it anymore. RJ and Zende in their little war over Luna. I want to get it out early because this is going to be the one that's going to stress me out the most. So I figure if I get it out early, then we can be smooth sailing for the rest of the podcast.
Sounds good. Get it out. You go, girl.
All right. So just to recap, RJ gets Wyatt's old beach house. I guess Brooke reached out to Bill and got him to rent it to her for him. And of course, this sets Zende off. And I'm all team Zende at this point because I'm like, Zende has had to fight and scrap and claw to get everything he has in this company. You know, he went to school, he started from the bottom, he worked his way up. He still doesn't have a line, but here comes, social media boy from from his many trips to do nothing but take pictures of himself and the places that he's been. He comes in and now we're working on making him a co-designer on a legendary line, and he gets the beach house on the multi-million-dollar beach house. So it's like, okay, I get the resentment Zande had. It was totally gettable. Luna was kind of in the middle because she actually has feelings for RJ, but she can see where Zende's coming from. So I'm like, okay, this is a perfect rivalry. I'm kind of getting the vibes. It works for me. Then Belle
The mint.
and decided that what this story really needed was for a recently deflowered virgin to drink some champagne, suck down some magic mints, and have it as sexist with Zende while thinking he was RJ. I'm assuming at no point in the interaction did she call out RJ's name because
No,
he
Zende was
seemed
shocked
completely
the next morning.
flabbergasted and shocked the next morning that she didn't know it was him.
Right. Exactly.
And so she crawled right up in his bed to do it.
Yeah.
And so now we have a sexual assault victim. Not blaming Zende necessarily, because she has been very clear that she likes RJ.
Mm-hmm.
But, he didn't recognize that she was under the influence, so it wasn't like he was intentionally taking advantage of her.
Mm-hmm.
And but now we have a sexual assault victim who has to tell her boyfriend that she was or was not sexually assaulted,
Right.
slash cheated, slash not cheated.
Right.
After this is her like second sexual experience of her entire life. But then everyone around her is telling her, well, don't tell him, you'll ruin your relationship. You'll never understand. He'll think you cheated.
Right.
Can I just say, I hate men's perception of what consent is and is not, and what is acceptable in terms of these kinds of stories. I have not seen a man in soap write this story correctly, ever. Every single time, it is just egregious.
Mhm.
And I'm not just talking about Bold and the Beautiful, because yes, they've crossed that line multiple times.
Across the board.
But
Yeah.
yes, I have not seen a single man be able to write a sexual assault story well, or a consent story well.
I mean, I have, and I mean, I know it's a soap opera, but
Yeah.
it's like re-victimizing her in a way to tell, Zende didn't mean to victimize her, but when he and her mother are telling her that she can't tell anybody, it's like telling her that it's her fault.
Exactly.
And it's
Oh,
re-victimizing her. And it's just, that is, it, and I get that's where the soapy story is, are it all coming out later, but can't we just switch it up a little bit and have, her tell the boyfriend and him be understanding, but it just amps up the fight with Zende because RJ blames Zende, which would be a natural reaction, but
yeah,
while also supporting her.
yeah. And then her being conflicted because she wants to defend Zende because he didn't actively do anything wrong.
Right.
But you don't want to make your boyfriend feel like you have more feelings for this person at this situation. Like that would have been decent angst that we could sink our teeth into.
Mm-hmm.
So there is the issue of how do you manage to be a worse mother than Brooke Logan? Because here is Brooke Logan after she pushes her daughter to give her virginity to a married man in order to hold on to him.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go get you into therapy. Here is Poppy after she accidentally drugs her daughter into having sex with the wrong man. Let's keep this a secret, just between us girlies and Zende. How are you a worse mother than Brooke Logan? How? I didn't know the bar was that. Like, I knew that you could clear it over it, but I didn't know you could clear it under it.
I don't know. Maybe he made some sort of World Series bet and lost. Who knows?
To be honest, I was actually liking Poppy up until this point. But it makes it really hard to like. And then Zende, I'm gonna say it because I'm black and I can get away with it. Having the black guy be the one who commits a sexual assault and then helps pressure her into being silent about it during Black History Month, was that fucking necessary?
Yeah.
Like,
I
the optics here just get worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, just so that you can make the princeling look even better, which he doesn't necessarily look good ever. I wasn't even saying it that way. Stop laughing.
yeah, his wardrobe is unfortunate.
I mean, that alone, there are other things that are unfortunate in this situation, but we're not going to go there because there's more serious topics. But
Yes.
like, the optics on this are stressing, like, because we watch Bold and Beautiful together, so that we can be prepared for this moment.
It's our emotional support Zoom.
Yes, it is our emotional support.
Because sometimes with some of these shows, you need it.
Yeah, I mean, when the shows are slow, you need someone there who's keeping you awake.
Yep.
And then when the shows are bad, you need someone to pause with and vent. And I was like,
Both.
I'm not sure, as much as I vented, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to have enough to say for this podcast, but here it is.
Oh, there's always more to say. There's
Yeah.
always more to say. Yep.
But yeah, the optics on this whole story are just so gross on every level. And ugh.
They are. And I'm going to take a little bit of other side of not of the sexual assault stuff. I'm with you 100% on that. And
Mhm.
I understand Zende's resentment of RJ,
Uh-huh.
but I'm not a huge Ridge fan.
Hmm.
I'm not. And I'm not a Bridge fan, even though I'm a Brooke fan.
Yeah.
Um, I think Ridge's logic of choosing RJ as the co-designer was sound because Eric had chosen him.
Here's my thing.
Mhm.
When no one knew about his health issue, I was fine with it under that logic. Once everyone knew, it didn't make sense anymore because the only reason Eric chose him is because RJ knew and no one else knew and he didn't want anyone else to know.
RJ didn't know when Eric first asked him, though.
He didn't? I could have
No,
sworn that's why he
nope.
ended up
He
asking him.
found out. No, he because RJ had no interest in designing or anything like that. But Eric, yeah, RJ didn't find out about the health stuff. And I mean, he found out before everybody else did, but not at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Eric said it was something with arthritis, so he needed somebody to help him with the drawing, but that was it. So RJ agreed to.
Okay, I still think it was I think, okay, then Eric was the one who's the asshole.
And that's fine.
And here,
But I think that the thing with Eric with choosing RJ as well is Zende was a designer for Forrester.
mhm.
RJ wasn't. So he wouldn't be taking Zende, people are going to notice if Zende's working on something else. If Zende's not around to design for Hope for the Future, because he works on that with Thomas, I think, or whatever it is. People are going to notice that he's not there at work to be doing his work. With RJ, nobody would notice because he didn't work at Forrester.
Okay, so then that logic worked when nobody knew the real situation.
Right. And
It
then,
stopped working as soon as everybody knew.
except it doesn't, because RJ and Eric, they collaborated on it. It was mostly Eric, but RJ did contribute to it as well. And they were a cohesive unit in designing it. So, in completing that vision, it made sense that Ridge would want RJ on it because Eric had put RJ in that position. And it was Eric's collection. It wasn't an homage collection. It wasn't a tribute. It was finishing the collection that Eric had started. That's why, and I understand Zenday's resentment. I completely understand that. I just also understand why Ridge chose RJ for it. And I mean, I think his resentment about the beach house is silly because RJ would have the beach house. His parents would have gotten it. He's a rich kid. He could have gotten the beach house anyway, but I understand the resentment spilling over into that as well. I just think it's a different thing than the designing because, his parents are Ridge and Brooke no matter what.
Here's the thing. I think his parents being Ridge and Brooke never became a problem until it became a problem. And that's a logical direction to go with it, because at that point, Zenday was a designer and RJ was boring, living his life elsewhere. It's just, I'm sorry, I get kind of your logic on it, but there's something about it that just doesn't, I can't put my finger on what it is that bothers me about it. Or I can't put my words on it because this is the first I've heard your argument. So maybe my brain is just not able to put the words together yet. But something about your argument is not sufficient enough to make me be okay with it. But I can accept that argument and we can move on to the next topic if you're okay with that.
I mean, I'm not trying to change your mind.
Because we know how easy that is.
I know, right? Gosh, yeah. Uh, and I mean, we need the rivalry.
Yeah.
And I've been begging Bold to bring on some new, so I am happy about that.
Yes, same. Oh no, same.
They need new characters.
I think in terms of what I'm saying, the story makes sense. Up until the Belle can't help but do these random ass awful consent stories, I was 100% team Zendaya. Now I'm team get Luna the fuck out of there because she's just in the center of a bunch of very grossness, and I just want her free from that. I also want Zendaya the fuck out of there because it's turning this rivalry that I was actually going to enjoy to some degree into something really ugly unnecessarily. You know what I mean?
Well, here's my thing about it. I'm pretty sure she's going to end up with Zendaya.
Here's the thing. If not for the sexual assault thing angle, I'd be down because they had better chemistry. They had better chemistry.
I think that's why, even though, they made it a sexual assault, they made it one that he was completely unaware of. So
every time he's done that though. So I'm not surprised that he's trying to make sure and protect the guy from looking like the assaulter in a situation where there's drugs and alcohol involved. Because we saw that with Caroline and Thomas, and that shit was gross too. And the thing about it is, once I learned some of the backstory behind that one, we're not even gonna go there. But like it made it even worse. But I digress. I say all this to say it, Belle if you're listening, I am begging you from my soul. Leave sexual assault and consent storylines alone. Or get a woman or some kind of consultant who like has experience with these topics to oversee the writing of the stories, because what you're doing is incredibly harmful. It's really it's encouraging purity culture. It's encouraging the perspective that the woman is at fault even when she's not at fault, and that she has to protect the man even when, like, why is she having to defend this man when she needs to be processing her emotions? Like, there's so much wrong with this story, and I
Right.
need you desperately to either never do one of these stories again, or next time get a consultant to help you write this better, because this is awful.
I agree. Moving on just a little bit,
Yes.
who do you think Luna's father is?
Um, at one point I thought it was Bill,
I did
because
too.
that kind of seemed like the obvious direction that they were going with him and Poppy.
Hmm.
Now I don't know what I think. Part of me kind of hopes it's Maroney. Like, she had some, affair with Nick Maroney, and even though he's not here, we find out that, we've got another Maroney on the canvas or something. It could be interesting that way. I don't know. Or even better, an excuse to bring Jack back. Have it be Jack.
Yeah, I don't think it's either of them.
You
Or
would
any
think
of
it's Bill.
them. Hmm?
We think it's Bill because low hanging fruit has to hang.
I don't think it's Bill either.
Who?
You're not gonna like who I think it is.
Oh God. Just go ahead and say the words.
I think it's Finn.
How would fit? Are we talking about doing sexual assault on top of sexual assault?
I don't know how they would frame it exactly because he talked about when, like, they've had like Poppy watching him weirdly a few times,
I
like in a
swear to God,
pointed manner after. And he talked about how him and Poppy were really close when he would come home from medical school and he was so stressed out, and she'd, get him drunk, and they'd get drunk together, and they'd, I think they talked about getting drunk, but he'd, because he was so stressed out, and she'd always be able to get him to relax and, forget about things for a while.
oh
And
God, if she groomed Finn and then drugged her daughter into a sexual assault, I will come through that fucking TV and box her my damn self.
see, I'm
No!
not sure that they'll play it that way because they seem to play it that she's a lot younger than her sister. So I think how they'd play it is that they were both drunk when it happened and he just doesn't remember it, and she's like, I'm not going to destroy this kid's whole life and my family even
With
more.
you, I don't think that there's a way that I could not hate this.
I know. They seem to just be, and here's the thing.
Mhm.
They're leaning into this whole, which we will discuss, we'll get to later, but Sheila is his mother, my mom, you know what I mean? Which is kind of seems to be putting a little bit of space between him and Lee.
I hate everything, everything, everything.
I just have a bad feeling that this is going to be
I have
like you
see, now
long for
that
the
you
days of
said it,
Vince.
a lot of things that I've seen in the last few months are making an uncomfortable amount of sense that I think my brain had blocked out because it was already overwhelmed with enough trauma. Oh my God, why would you let me know that
It just popped into my head. I wasn't thinking about it. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to forewarn you.
that was fine? You're lucky I
I
love you.
just, I mean, it could be nothing. I could just, how I overanalyze everything.
Here's my thing. I'm gonna hope that you're overanalyzing and wrong, because I don't necessarily think that Bill is smart enough to put that many Easter eggs in. However, he is twisted enough. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna lean towards praying he's not smart enough to write that story the way that you're seeing it. because I can't pray that he's not twisted enough. Because my God,
Yeah,
we're talking about the sexual assault story that we're talking about right now, and
right.
there on to another story that is full of actual consent. Don't be fucking every day, everywhere, every damn day, every damn way they can get it.
Lots of
And
consent. They are consenting all over every flat surface they can find and a few
they
lump.
are consenting in front of unconsenting adults at some point. Just what are you doing?
Yes.
Every flat and unflat surface has had their asses on it. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, I would literally walk around with a Febreze bottle because what are you doing
You know it smells like sex in there.
all the time?
Not only a Febreze bottle, a thing of Clorox wipes.
Yeah, they've got a new can of like Clorox spray that you can.
The Lysol disinfectant.
Yeah, so we're gonna just double fist it. One hand with the Lysol and the other one with Febreze.
They're like, Charlie, do something around here other than be annoying.
Yeah,
Every room they leave,
um,
go in there with your little disinfectants and sanitize all the surfaces.
because my God, like I wouldn't want to touch any of his sketches either because oh my gosh, fluids would be the first thing that would come to mind.
Here's my thing. Has there anybody who hasn't had sex on the couch in the CEO office or the design room
Here's the
at this
thing.
point?
You're right. You're absolutely right. It's a cesspool. My thing
Yeah,
is, some people do it like once in a blue, and I can handle that because office sex happens, gross as it may be.
yeah,
But these people have treated it like extra bedrooms.
right.
I'm like, baby, you don't have to christen your workplace
Yeah, you're just
daily.
sitting there
Like,
going, Ridge's bare ass has been sitting on that couch while Brooke was sitting on, the opposite side of Ridge's bare ass.
mhm.
And then Thomas's bare ass has been sitting on the couch. And Hope
That's sitting on
has
Thomas
been
while he's sitting on the
and
print of
Steffi.
Ridge,
And
where
that's the biggest problem is that it's all these people who are so very much related. Ugh.
it's it's skeevy. I'm like, look, I am all for the hot, sexy chemistry. Congratulations, Stoke fans.
Hmm.
But my God, please take it somewhere else. Take it somewhere just from a little private, just a little private. I, I need y'all to rent a hotel room across the street from Forrester or something, or like down the street from Forrester, and go work on your sketches there. You can have
Or
halls forwarded. It can be like because there are like hotels, like really high end hotels, who will like rent you office space. You know,
yeah, or those bungalows at the pickleball place that, Eric was meeting Donna at.
yeah, something. I need them to put some distance between work while they sanitize that building because my God,
Yeah.
all of Thomas's brothers and sisters are all over the surfaces there, and he's now put his father's grandchildren all over the surfaces too. And
That's
he's
what
like,
I'm like, people
"Ugh."
who have had sex in this area might have been conceived by people having sex while people were having sex in this area.
Just it's too much. Too
I
much.
mean, yes.
The sex in and of itself, like logic, like separating logic from it. Yeah, sure. Chemistry is chemistry. They're two beautiful people. It should all be checking the boxes. But then you think about the fact that there used to be two other beautiful people there who are supposed to be related to these two beautiful people, and it just gets extra super skeevy really, really fast. But anyway, Thomas proposed in January, and February they started out the month with everyone freaking out. Like they're stressing out Brooke and Hope. And for once they're on the same side of the stress, but for different reasons. And that one right there is fucking hilarious.
It's just,
When you have Brooke and Steffi agreeing on
yeah.
anything, that's quite literally terrifying.
Next thing is going to be Steffi and Brooke having Bible study or something. Good Lord. And now we'll know the end is near. But my thing about it is, I really like Thomas and Hope. I like that she seems to be discovering herself. And he is giving her space, he was giving her space to work out her feelings about everything. I was disappointed with him proposing because it seemed to be like a complete 180 from the we're going to take this at your pace thing.
Here's the problem. This was always delusional for people to think that he was taking this slow. His heart was already fully engaged from the beginning.
Oh, I know.
To try and pretend like this was slow for him.
Oh, I
And
understand that. It
slow for her.
dampened my enjoyment of them.
But the thing is, I couldn't enjoy them from the beginning because of this. This is what I knew was coming. And the problem is, I also know what else is probably coming. And that makes, as a Thomas fan, this makes it even harder for me to be able to get invested in Thope, even in the short term, because I'm just like, I always knew that he was going to fall harder. And normally I'm all for the guy falling harder. Those are the ships that I, headlong in, bathe in it, live in it, give me, give me, give me. Normally that's me. There
Right.
are a couple exceptions. You know one of them from a completely different soap. Although, argument's sake, you could say he fell harder. But I digress. Wrong soap. I'm generally a guy falls harder, but in his case, it hurts me to see him fall first and harder because he has no safety net in this, emotionally speaking. He's just barely got himself back on solid ground.
Mm-hmm.
And she's using him to get strong and get herself together and figure out. And he's letting her because he thinks that the end goal, the end result is going to be them together. But the
Right.
problem is who she finds out that she is may not end up wanting to spend the rest of her life with him, even if she's having incredible amounts of fun.
Mm-hmm.
As much as she says that to him, he clearly can't hear it because every time she says that, he's like, yes, no, I get it. I just can see the future with us and we're going to be so happy together.
Right.
And the thing is, that right there, if she had had any kind of real empathy for his situation, she would have heard that and been like, okay, that right there lets me know this is not a good idea because I don't want to hurt either of us because of this. And if some point I realize that this is just fun for me and I can't see a future with you, you will be hurt because you're way deeper in, even though you're saying that you're okay with me using you. If that using doesn't end the way you think it's going to, it's not going to be okay anymore. And I don't want you hurt like that. And I don't think that she's emotionally mature enough to make that decision clearly because she's just riding the wave. But like, I'm really, really scared for him. Like, I don't think he's going to completely lose his mind because a lot of that was his tumor.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't want to see him get hurt simply because he trusted her with his heart when he shouldn't have. But that's what we're doing. And
Yeah, see, I don't know because I think that, honestly, because his heart was already engaged before it even started, from, you know, before they started sleeping together, his heart was already engaged. I think that if she had done that, he wouldn't have accepted that answer. And he would have pursued her, and it could have very easily gone back into an obsession for him. I'm I go back and forth about where this is going because I could also see, because we think that what's going to happen is there's going to be something that happens between her and Finn.
yes,
But I could see, like, while consoling Finn, they maybe have a kiss or something, and it makes her, and she pulls away, and she's like, and that's like a light bulb that she does want to be with Thomas. She does, she is in love with him. She does want to accept his proposal. You know what I mean? They could use it for something like that. Um,
I mean, if it was another soap, I might believe that, but this is Brad Bell and this is Bold and the Beautiful, and I do not buy that from him.
See, honestly, I've been, well, for a while now, have been rooting for I wanted Finn to have a thing with Bridget. I thought that would make more sense.
Agreed.
Them both being doctors and yada yada. So I'm like, if we could throw Bridget into the mix,
Agreed.
because, there's definitely going to be some, you know, fuckery with Steam.
Hmm.
And
I do not see Brad Bell having that much value in Bridget's character, unfortunately. So
I
this
understand
is
that.
not going to
My
be the
thing is
direction we
though, they do value the character of Thomas, and where else is he going to go?
Do they value the character of Thomas?
I think, well, I mean, I think,
I think that you're overestimating how much they value the character of Thomas.
I say value the character of Thomas as in he's a contract player, he's not going anywhere right now.
See, that doesn't mean that they're going to do right by him though, because there's a
True.
lot of contract players that they like to fuck over repeatedly.
True, but they're gonna need some sort of pairing for him.
Not necessarily, because they've done it to him before. Like, for instance, an example of a time when he got thrown under the bus for another character, Brooke was the one who called CPS. They completely rewrote that to make him the bad guy. When the one thing that had been his thing that he did not play with was his kid. Like he fucked
He
around
played with
and
no
done
no
some.
no no no. He played with his kid before.
Okay, how?
He when he was obsessed with Hope way back in the day. He used that kid to get close to Hope with.
Okay, for some reason, what you're saying is not clicking. Okay,
Okay. I'm gonna have to look up exactly the history because I had gone into it before and now I'm like blanking on it. But when he was first, I mean, he used Douglas before Hope adopted him, before anybody knew about his obsession with her. He was using Douglas.
okay,
He was also like bordered on abusive with Douglas with when he had his obsession with Hope because he was totally like losing his mind. And then the tumor thing and stuff like that. But no, he used Douglas before.
okay. Maybe that would have was during a time when I wasn't watching as consistently, so I did not see that part. To my knowledge, one of the things that was kind of like his line in the sand was that he wasn't going to damage Douglas, that he was protective of Douglas, and he wanted to give him a happy life and a happy family. So that randomly getting turned around and put on him to make him the bad guy after all the work he'd done to try and they kind of started to rebuild back up that hill with him after the tumor just kind of seemed like, well, we can throw shit on him and his fans will still stick with him regardless. So even if it's like character assassination this time, so be it, we'll do it. And so that's my thing. And the thing is that happens a lot with characters that are juxtaposed against Logan characters. Things that are completely out of character for them, things that they would never do or that are not their norm, suddenly become their norm for a brief time just to make them the bad guy next to the Logan character. And then they flip back to their own character after the story is over. And we're supposed to ignore the fact that you completely took them all the way down here and made them the bad guy in order to make this make sense. And it's not great writing. And so it's why I have difficulty trusting that they won't do exactly the same thing.
Mhm.
Give us this whole arc where we've seen redemption, we've seen a relationship building, we've seen this, connection between these two. We've seen Hope like happy and light. And, it looks like a building genuine romance, only for them to then at the last minute turn the corner and decide that Finn is a better guy than Thomas is, because
Yeah.
Finn's never done on any of the things that Thomas has done. And look at how loyal he was to Steffi, but now he and Steffi aren't together, so he can be loyal to me, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't trust it enough to think that they won't do some crazy nonsense like that.
They could. I mean, I hope they don't. I mean, he's such a good actor, and I just really,
Because he deserves so much better than that. And I hope that I'm wrong.
here's
I
my thing.
and if I
I mean,
am,
honestly, every woman on this show is a train wreck. And a lot of the guys
are train wrecks too.
are train wrecks as well. I love when people call Liam waffles, and I'm like, with Ridge standing right there. Not that Liam's not waffles, but with Ridge standing right there.
Yeah, he's the OG waffles.
Exactly.
It's waffles and OG waffles. They're
Right.
both
I'm just
waffles.
like,
It's just
right.
we just call him Ridges. You didn't know that? People call him Ridges because he, it goes up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. Yeah, he's Ridges. It's Ridges and waffles.
Yeah, it's just I, Ridge is,
Ridges got experience in waffling.
yes.
Waffles is just the new guy. He's breakfast. He's early in the morning. He's just in the beginning of his waffle journey.
I think that Ridge is probably my second most hated male character on soap operas.
He's if
I
he's
mean,
not, he's close.
I mean, the first one is way up here, and Ridge is, it's not a close second
Mm-hmm.
because nothing will ever.
We already know.
Yeah,
We already know.
yeah. But
I don't know if Ridge is
Ridge
my
is,
second, but if he wasn't, he's gotten closer over the years. He may be my second as far as what's left of the core four.
hmm,
Because there have been other characters who have been absolutely abysmal in human beings.
mhm,
James Stenbeck comes to mind, you know. And so there have been other characters I believe that I've hated almost as much as that one person that we both share as our most hated.
yes,
Um, but in those shows that remain, yeah, I think he's number two. And it's
yeah,
not close, but it's close enough to be number
yeah. I mean, I classify villains in a different thing because you're like supposed, but this is supposed to be romantic leading men, and I'm just no.
Oh yeah. So in the
And
category of romantic leading men, he's easily number two
yeah,
because like he sexually assaulted his woman. He's waffled and waffled and waffled and walked out on more weddings than he's actually been married. It's
yeah,
so, oh my gosh, flames against the side of my face. I can't with that man.
yeah. I know. And don't let's
Living
not
with
even get into the
him.
missed opportunity
Oh my gosh.
on the altar of him. Yeah, I can't. It's
They could have at least done a throuple. And they could have at least done a throuple. They can sit in the corner and watch something. Just
yeah, right.
why couldn't they just let those two be great?
Mm-hmm.
Because why did they have the most chemistry with each other?
I don't
Yes,
know.
we are talking about Brayler.
Which we
Brooke
are
and
both
Taylor
fans of.
had a stupid amount of chemistry. I can't stand Brooke. She's easily one of my least favorite characters, regardless of gender. She might be my number two. Because, like I said, loyalty
You want to know what's really funny?
for me.
I couldn't stand Taylor until Krista played her.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I liked Krista's Taylor. I hated, but even Krista's Taylor, I like side-eyed a few times with her whole. One of my favorite things was when she was complaining about when Rich told her that he was getting back together with Brooke, and she was like, "She slept with your father and your brother and then she was like, "Yes, I did too, but it was different."
It was.
It just cracked me up because it was a little bit of self-awareness right in the middle, which is so rare on soaps.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about the thing I like is a self-aware character. You can be problematic,
Yeah,
but as long as you're aware that you're problematic, who isn't problematic sometimes?
right. Exactly. We want them problematic. That's where the fun is.
Yeah. And the thing about it is Taylor has her set her moral values. And one of them is that she's loyal. She's messy, she's problematic, she's an alcoholic, she's got she's a hypocrite on occasion, but she's loyal when they let her be. As in let her be on screen to be with her fucking family. Sorry, because she should be here right the fuck now. Speaking of, she should be here right now. Um, what were we talking about? Oh yes, we were talking about soap and the excessive amount of fucking.
Hmm.
But we also brought up Finn, which is a perfect time to mention that Xander made an appearance
Hmm.
to blame Thomas for killing Emma. Now, this has always been a controversy within the fandom as to whether or not Thomas is to blame.
Right.
My thought has always been, yes, he has some responsibility in that he was kind of chasing her,
Hmm.
but it wasn't the kind of chasing her where he was like trying to run her off the road. He was following her. And
Right.
it wasn't super close, but he was there behind her. And that stress did lead to some of her bad decision making.
Hmm.
So I can hold him partially responsible. But did he
Yes.
kill her? No. What killed her was her trying to answer the phone at the same time as driving when, like, she could have just gotten to her destination and picked up the phone.
Yeah.
Or, she had one of those newfangled phones, hit the button and say, dial 911, I'm being chased. Something along those lines. Like, it's not like he was coming after her in a way that was like endangering her safety without
Right.
her doing something extra to take it off.
Bullets weren't
Have that.
taking out the windows or anything.
Yeah. He wasn't ramming her tires or bumping the back of her. Like, he wasn't doing something egregious.
Right.
He was just following her.
Right.
And like he wasn't following her super close, but he was following her. So like I said, to a degree, I do give him some responsibility in the state of mind she was in.
Yes.
But the choices she made,
Yeah.
which makes me something of a hypocrite because if you had brought up Phoebe and Rick, I'm blaming Rick 110%. It's all his fault. Fuck that dude. That's what I said.
Ooh.
And I'm fine with it. I'm fine with being a hypocrite about that. But I'm telling you right now, you're not changing my mind regardless.
I love a self-aware podcaster.
Fuck. Here's the thing. I'll admit, occasionally I am a hypocrite about soaps. I can be logical, I can be fair. But when
Yeah.
you piss me off to the tips of passivity,
Hmm.
especially on the other side of a character I actually like,
Hmm.
oh, all of that fairness jumps right out the window, no parachute.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I right
And
there with you, baby.
during that era, had already pissed me off to the height of passivity and had lost any and all, you know,
Yeah.
kindness that I had for him. Plus, he killed off my fucking Phoebe. And I was like, nah, hang that bitch by his toenails.
Well,
I said what I said. You
I,
can fuss at me for it later, guys. I'll own it. Come at
she
me,
will.
bro.
She will.
It is what it is. But I digress. In the case of Thomas, though, I can admit that he was part of the
Partially.
problem, but I do not consider him 100% responsible for
Mhm.
her death. So Xander's whole take on it was ridiculous and over the top and unnecessary. However, I kind of give it something of a pass because of grief. But
Mhm.
what bothers me about it more than anything is that it felt put on. It did not feel like a result of grief. I almost got the feeling that he was put up to it, which I would love to find out later that one of those Spencers paid him to come to town and do this, because that's kind of the vibe I got off of it. It didn't seem like genuine anger and grief that was motivating him. Like if that has been what I gotten off of him, like one of two things is true. Either someone paid him to come to town, or he's not a good enough actor to play this as grief.
Or what would be really great
Mm-hmm.
is if it was Brooke who paid him.
Ooh.
And then Ridge finds out.
Oh, it would be great, but they're not going to give me anything. It's not going to matter. We're still going to be stuck with Brooke and Ridge getting back together. Oh.
I know. But I mean, I could see Brooke doing it because she doesn't want Brooke Hope with Thomas.
I mean, and I would be fine with that story. It would be completely in character and a reasonable decision for her to have made, to try and play that angle. Fuck her, because I don't like her anyway. But I digress. The issue for me in all of this, more than anything, was Finn's reaction. Like Finn, since his return, has done a really weird 180 on Thomas that has been pissing me off, considering his other 180 that he did on his mother. Because I'm like, he has gone completely off the deep end on Thomas. He used to be real super cool with Thomas. That was his other brother kind of energy. They vibed, and yes, he had issues with some of the things he did, but like he was understanding, he liked the guy. He was like, okay, I do see that he can do better, he can grow. And it's funny that he cannot give that kind of compassion to Thomas, but somehow he wanted people to give it to his psycho ass mother who shot him.
See, I understand his 180 on Sheila or his mixed feelings on Sheila. I don't understand the Thomas thing at all. I'm with you on that one. It makes absolutely no sense to me.
It was just like completely out of the blue. Like
Right.
I get it. He has made mistakes and he's been problematic and what have you. But like he's also always had your back.
Right. Exactly.
Always supported you with Steffi. He's always supported you and the kids. He's always been like a good resource for you guys to lean on, except when he was at his lowest, when he couldn't be that.
Right.
But like in general, you've had no reason to feel like this.
Yeah, I have absolutely I don't understand. I understand Hope. I mean, I understand Brooke.
Yes.
And I
She's
thought
never liked Thomas, so it's not
Steffi and Taylor were a little ridiculous for their insistence that everybody, I mean, I believe Thomas has changed, but their insistence that everybody had to believe it was over the top and ridiculous, and acting like nobody had a reason to think.
No, the thing is, I think that that's a mischaracterization of what was happening. I don't think they were saying that there's no reason to believe that he's questioned. But the thing about it is they were saying, give him a chance. Stop trying to like railroad him every chance you get. You don't have to even necessarily be around him all the time. Just back off and let him show you that he's changed.
But
And
that wasn't all they were doing. Anytime they were like, especially with Brooke, Taylor, and I know that this was also because of Ridge and their divide because of Ridge, but like Brooke was like really, or Taylor was really mad that Brooke just didn't accept that Thomas had changed.
No, her issue was the two-facedness. Because to Taylor's face, she would say that she was like, oh yeah, I can see how he's changed. He's doing much better. And then behind Taylor's back to other people, what all he's done. He's this and that and
Well, because her thing was she could
Taylor that she was doing this stuff after being like, no, I get what you're saying. I do see changes in him. And like it was the two-faced angle that was causing the problem between her and Brooke.
Well, I don't think that it was a two-faced angle. I think it was a, yes, I can see changes in Thomas, but I don't want him with my daughter. I don't see enough of those. I don't see enough changes in him to want him with my daughter.
And here's the thing. If she could have articulated that, I think that would have been a much more understandable point to make in this situation. But the issue is she didn't even bother trying to articulate that. It was like 1 second she's in front of Taylor and she's like, oh yeah, he's doing so great. Yeah, I definitely see the changes. I just hope it continues. I am a little concerned. I do have my hesitations. And she's like, no, it's perfectly fine that you have hesitations, and just like watch him. You'll see he's made changes, just give him the space. And when they were talking one on one, she'd always come with that energy. Then she'd go off somewhere with Hope. Never forget what he did to you. Blah, 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 you have to remember. You have to remember. And it was like a completely different energy. She went from like kind of a passive, sweet thing with Taylor to like almost an aggressive energy with Hope. Now I get that it would possibly be partially because with Hope, she was starting to see Hope having feelings. And so, but at the same time, it's like, then to think, if you've been hearing from your friend that yes, I'm giving your son a chance, I'm seeing the changes, I really respect, the work he's done, I'm hesitant, but I'm giving him a chance. And then find out that the same day that she was saying these things to you, that she was also raking him over the coals to her daughter to remind her daughter not to give him a full chance, you're going to feel some kind of way. So I think the Thomas thing seemed like they were not saying that you have to give him a chance, but I think it was more along the lines of, you can't say that you're going to give him a chance and then not give him a chance. Either do it or don't play these games, because that's like gaslighting almost.
Yeah, see, I disagree with your assessment on it. I saw it differently, but
Okay,
it's just one of the.
well, that's not the month of February, so I guess we really don't have to worry about it that deep. As of right now, though, Finn did his 180 on Thomas and has completely decided that he's, a worthless individual, even though he's shown over a long period of time that he's changed and he's doing better and his therapy's working. And he's a doctor, but somehow the doctor doesn't believe in therapy working. So there's that. However, even though the doctor doesn't believe in therapy working, the psychopath who doesn't get any therapy can change because of biology.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't get any therapy, not in jail, totally shot you and your wife and left you for dead, kidnapped you after your actual, raised you mother saved your freaking life, and then threw her off a cliff to try and kill her and take credit for saving you. But she can change with no therapy and a minimal amount of jail time. Yeah, no, all of that makes sense, Dr. Finn. Like,
I don't necessarily think that. I understand Finn's conflicted feelings about Sheila, especially with her being dead.
okay, here's the deal. To a degree, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
To a degree, I don't. I'm like half in, half out. Because I feel like even before she died, he'd been giving her a little bit too much of the benefit of the doubt, considering his personal experience with her and no knowledge of anything that she's doing to change. All he knows about what she's doing in order to change is that she's working and screwing someone. That's her whole proof of change. There's no therapy plan. There's no nothing. Like, if she wanted to prove herself, she could have like had Deacon tell them, look, I'm in therapy, I'm doing these things, I'm making efforts to like figure out what the root of my issue is so I can stop and change. And maybe someday you can really see me as someone who can be in your life. And if not, then at least I'll be a better person for me. These are the things that she could have done to kind of give him some kind of inkling that she was worthy of his softening towards her. But all it took was some white woman tears, and he was like, okay, that's my mom. That's my mom. Mom. Fuck out of here. Now, like I said, to a degree, that is your biological mother. You went your entire life without her. It's hard to process that you never got to build that relationship with her because of who she was. And so you'll never get to build that relationship or understand her better than what you know of her. And what you know of her is that she's a monster. So I can understand the difficulty in that and in understanding and processing and accepting that.
Yeah.
That part I get. I'm not, you know, I'm not heartless. And I'm, like I said, I can be fair. However, the degrees that I was seeing beforehand
Yeah.
are coloring my ability to accept what I'm seeing after.
Yeah.
And so that's where my issue with Finn comes in. He can, be compassionate as hell as he wants to Hope and Sheila, but by the same token, we have to write off Thomas because obviously he did everything Xander said he did, even though you don't know Xander from a hill of beans, you just kind of sort of met him in passing once and now he's telling you this whole story, so now that must be the truth. Like it gives the vibe is off. It does not pass the vibe check at all for me. So there's my issue with it.
Yeah, the stuff before I don't get either, but I understand his feelings with her being dead. I do. With that stuff, I mean, I don't understand his thing with, you killed, because it seems like he's blaming her, which is weird. It would have made more sense to me if Sheila had somehow lured Steffi out of the Cliff House and Steffi had killed her somewhere else. It would make more sense that it would be a little bit of a gray area,
Mm-hmm.
because then who did what
Yeah.
after Steffi's threat. But the fact that it all happened at the Cliff House, I'm just like, although I have a feeling that there's going to be one. I'm going to say it right now. I do not think Sheila's dead. I don't think it was Sheila that Steffi killed.
Agreed. I mean,
Uh,
I never thought it was Sheila.
yeah,
From the very beginning, something about that felt off.
right. The her not saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not saying a word to Steffi. Not. It was very very weird. And you know, not having a weapon of her own to defend herself or whatever. She was there. Whoever was there with the intent, with Sheila's intention of that person being killed. Um, it'll be interesting to see how she thinks she's going to reveal herself, but we'll see how that goes. It's going to probably be a little while,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
I'm
it'll
just
be
glad we
great.
don't have to see her missing another toe. I'm sorry. The toe thing creeps me out.
No, it is a little disturbing.
And I hated when they were all looking at the toe for like months and pictures of the toe. Like, please stop.
It
Anyway,
doesn't have to be that realistic, babe. You
yeah,
told us that she has 9 toes. We believe you. That's all we needed to know.
yeah,
Didn't need the image
yeah.
at all.
So I'm
But yeah,
like, I'm waiting for the coroner to
clearly what
go.
happened.
Yeah, I'm waiting for
That was,
somebody to read the autopsy report and go, wait a minute, 10 toes.
yeah.
Yeah,
So we need to go ahead and do the official recap of what happened to
okay.
bring us to Sheila's quote unquote death.
Yes.
So Steffi let her daughter go out with a friend and
Hmm.
the friend's mother. The friend's mom took her to Il Jardin.
Hmm.
Now, you of course made the commentary that if you're so worried about your kid not being near Sheila, you should have probably warned the mom. I don't disagree, but it's a soap. They're going to come up with random stupid plot holes to make these things work.
Of
Whatever.
course they are.
So anyway, the random mom, who is some random celebrity that they brought on for some like purpose of supposed being recognizable to someone out there in the world,
Hmm.
took them there. Then, Steffi's little Kelly, being the, tech savvy genius that she is, pulled out her Apple Watch and took a little selfie with her and her bestie. And
Hmm.
there was 9 toes in the background, just smiling away.
Yeah.
And Steffi blew a gasket, called the mom, get my baby out of there,
Hmm.
and made a beeline down there to face off with 9 toes.
Yes.
For some reason, you now have that name stuck in my head instead of her actual name. So every time I go to say her actual name, I unintentionally say Nine Toes. That is on you. Because I was calling her Sheila before that.
Everything's my fault. I'm just saying. And
Your
yes, I
power.
know it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. But not everything is my fault.
But no, I mean your power. I gotta give you your credit, your power, your power. Um,
Someday I need to use this power for good and not evil.
not even.
Evil.
So anyway, Steffi makes a beeline to Il Giardino. Waiter tells her that Sheila's upstairs. She makes a beeline to Deacon's apartment. They go in. She goes in and bangs on the door. Sheila lets her in. They have a confrontation. Steffi, she channels her gangsta grandma and gets all huffy puffy, loud and rowdy. And then Sheila pushes her, and Steffi reaches right back and cold cocks her right across the cheek.
Mm-hmm.
A good swing too. She made some good contact on that one. Props on the swing and the contact. You know me. I love a good soap smackdown. Um,
Yes.
hint to future podcasts to come. But no, I love a good soap smackdown. This one was a good one. They separated and then they continued to verbally spar. And then Steffi was just like, you know what? Fuck logic and reason. You're a monster. You'll always be a monster. Fuck you, nine-toed bitch. I hope that you drown. I hope you die. I never want to see you in life. I'll never feel safe as long as you draw breath. I hope that you suffocate tomorrow. Like she just kind of lost the plot and all of her trauma came spewing up from her chest.
Yep.
And then Sheila was like, you want to see a monster? I got your fucking monster. And then they started to tussle. And I love a good tussle. And
As usual, the boys come in and ruin all the fun.
yeah, I mean, they were going back and forth, and Steffi was getting her hits in, and Sheila was getting her hits in. And right when the boys came in, Sheila was right on top of Steffi.
Yeah.
And so that looked bad for Sheila. So Sheila had to turn on her waterworks and be like, she wants your mother dead. Your mother. And I'm like, ma'am,
Yeah.
you've got the M part correct and the O, but the rest is monster, not mother, whatever. Anyway, she's looking for pity for Finn. Finn's like, his eyes say, I feel bad for you. His mouth said, that's my wife, bitch. Stay the fuck away from my family. And I was like, copy that. That's a man's right there. I support it. That's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to have a united front with the wifey. Then he took her home and he asked her, did you really say that you wanted her dead? I will never feel safe as long as she's alive. I hope she stops breathing while we were in the car. I hope she stopped breathing while we were in the car.
Yeah.
And he's like having a moment about it because it's like, that's still kind of my blood mama. And she's
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I kind of don't give a fuck.
If there was no Sheila, there'd be no me, baby.
She doesn't believe that. Somehow Steffi believes that he would exist regardless.
Yes.
She's decided that there's some way that through the soap time continuum, he would exist even if they went back in time and erased Sheila. Because she loves him that much and she's that much in hate with his mama.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. And I'm kind of like that when I'm mad at somebody and I love somebody that they're connected to. I'm like, I could kill that person. If you kill that person, I would never exist. Yes, you would. It's fine. We'd figure out a way. Just don't worry about it. Details are not important. I will make you here. Even if I have to keep them as an incubator till you're here and then kill them. You are valuable and we support your existence. They can go though.
Yeah.
And so after the confrontation, Sheila's losing her shit. Deacon, quote unquote, calms her down, then gets called away Il Giardino after he gets a promise out of her to stay away from Steffi and Steffi's family, which Sheila breaks the table and says, "Fuck that shit, I'm out." And she runs off to stay at Steffi's cliff house immediately thereafter.
Mhm.
Now it's storming. It's some kind of windstorm, I guess, something with the beach houses that are on the cliff that can cause like power outages and stuff. Which, as I told you before, windmills. Anybody like why is there not a windmill with renewable energy set up so that they can just
Yeah.
power it off of the wind when it gets like that? You guys are rich. Why are you stupid too? Like, you pick a struggle.
Like, yeah, you can get a bell from Italy, but yeah.
Yeah, you people are rich and you're dumb. Pick a struggle. You literally live in a tower looking house. Like, put a windmill on the top of the house. Then you never have to worry about a power outage. How do rich people not have a generator? That's another thing. Because what? But never mind. I digress.
It's
How do
California.
let's
Solar
go.
panels, anyone?
That part. That part. Like, but I make too much sense to have money, obviously.
I know, right? Yeah. I'd love the chance
Anyway,
to prove that we could do both,
yes.
but
I
yeah,
would love that opportunity.
yeah,
But anyway, it was a dark and stormy night.
it was.
And then Steffi started hearing noises and kept checking the doors and knocking them and everything like that. And yet somehow while Steffi was, doing the cleanup around the house and making sure the doors were locked, she kept hearing noises. She started freaking out outside. Sheila was stalking her, talking about this is going to be your last day on earth, blah, blah, blah. And then Steffi gets to chopping up some vegetables or something for a salad or for a dinner or something.
The
When the
world's
power goes
largest head of lettuce.
out, yeah, I couldn't see what she was chopping behind that like wall of stuff on the table, but like it sounded like lettuce or cabbage or something.
Hmm.
So she was chopping. The lights went out. She starts moving like she's trying to find like candles, and then Finn calls. She
Hmm.
tells him what's going on. She tells him she's freaking out. He says he'll be home as soon as possible. He acts like he thinks it's so cute that she's freaking out. And I'm like, I hate when men do this shit.
Yeah,
Get your ass home. I need you to take the soap speed train and get the fuck here. Like,
right? Yeah.
right now. Um, but he doesn't, and instead he stays behind. We find out that he was waiting on a doctor,
Lab results.
some lab results from one of his patients. And Hope is there at the hospital because Douglas has allergy drops that he needs. And then she stops by to see Finn, and she's a consoling shoulder for him to lean on about his mommy problems.
Hmm.
Because she's so compassionate and Steffi is so rude and inconsiderate. She understands, and Steffi just doesn't get Finn like she does. Which is why we can kind of see the writing on the wall here, and why I want to punch her in the throat again when I had finally kind of stopped having that urge. But I digress. So they chit chat for a bit. Eventually, the lab results come in. He rushes out the door to go home to his wife after having said something along the lines of, I can feel her in ways I can't feel anyone else, and right now I feel like she needs me. You're not wrong. So
Not wrong at all. He,
yeah. So Steffi's going on about her business, looking for candles. She bends over, looks up, sees a shadow, turns around. There's Sheila, and she rolls over the back of the couch.
I liked how that scene was done.
I do too. That was
The thing,
realistic.
the shadow on the wall,
That was like a perfect,
it was really good.
like that was a perfect horror movie moment. Like,
Hmm.
so smartly done. Like her
Yes.
looking for candles and then just happening to hear something behind her because
Hmm.
Sheila managed to jimmy open the door of the sliding glass doors, and she kind of heard something. So she, looks up and there's the shadow. She stands up, turns around, and then she's like, the shadow comes at her. So she rolls over the back of the couch, which we love an action hero.
Hmm.
And she's like, "Stay away from me," and makes a beeline for the knife. And
Yep.
then he's holding that knife in full psycho mode, like right up above the head.
Yep.
Like, bitch, I will clock you. And immediately starts telling her, "Don't
Get
come
out
any
of my
closer.
house.
Get out, leave. You got your warning." Like some of us have lived in states that have stand your ground rules. She stood her ground.
She did
And she
stand
told you
her.
to get the fuck out her house. You don't want to listen? Consequences are your own.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't want to listen. She, in fact, lunged at Steffi. Steffi stabbed first and asked questions later.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Steffi also watched her bleed out for a while before calling anyone.
Here's the thing, that was shock.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her. I'm just saying.
I think we had a similar conversation about how when a psycho is near in a near death situation, you don't get closer to them,
Yes.
even though some people are saying if you're a good person, you're gonna help.
Oh no, I'm saying before she even like called 911 or anything.
No, because I mean, she was staring at her, and I'm like, a quote unquote good person would have gotten down on her knees and maybe held the spot. But my thing is, I'm not a good enough person to
I've
not
seen
consider the
too
fact
many
that she
horror
might put
movies.
something in her pocket and try to stab me and take her with her.
Exactly. I've seen too many horror movies to get close to the bad guy and when I think they're dying.
Yeah, so she stared in shock. It was clear that she was in shock because after she called the cops and after the cops got there, she kind of kept going in and out of these dazed states where she'd
Yeah.
be staring into space. So it's not like she was just waiting for her to die, although that's kind of what was happening.
Yeah.
I think it was genuine shock that this is what it came to and this actually happened, as opposed to it being like a nightmare or something.
Or a dream.
Yeah, or a hallucination from her trauma.
Yeah.
So, like, she was going in and out of shock the entire time. The cops come, she tells them what happened. Paramedics work on Sheila, and at 8:07 p.m., Sheila dies. Peace out, A-Town
Oh,
down.
someone died.
Yeah, quote mark Sheila died.
Yeah.
And they wheeled her on out of there. Steffi's getting like her shock is deepening because she's like, oh my gosh, it was one thing when I had to stab this hoe to save myself. It's another thing that she's dead now because I had to stab this hoe to save myself. Oh my gosh. She's freaking. Finn comes home after all the police and everybody leaves. And he's like, "Oh baby, you okay? What happened? The police." And she tells him what happened basically. It takes her a minute because she's in shock, and so like she keeps answering with these one-word answers that are not making a whole lot of sense because how did the cops not apprehend her and how did she not get away? And then finally she's dead. They killed her? No, I killed her. I stabbed her. So she finally ends up breaking down and telling him everything that happened. And he goes into "you killed my mother" mode. And I'm like, at this point, everything, all the points that you got when you were on her side, when you took her home, you've lost. Fuck you very much, sir. I get it. I do. But I'm not full emotionally invested in you, sir. So fuck you very much. I'm emotionally invested in Steffi. I want her to be okay. So the fact that you are not putting aside all of your trauma to take care of her means fuck you very much, which is not fair at all. But I didn't say I was always fair. As a matter of fact, I made a point of letting you know that occasionally I'm a hypocrite, and this is one of them. Fuck you very much, sir.
That's dang.
But
We
yeah.
all have our characters we're 10 toes down for. Well, not Sheila, but
Why did I think it as you were saying it? I love us so much.
I love us too.
And so that's how we ended the month of September. Steffi is trying to explain to her husband how it was self-defense, so he shouldn't be holding the fact that she murked his mama against him. Um, Daddy and Big Bro showed up and then consoled her for a little bit, but they were being a little too insensitive for Finn, so she sent them away.
Yeah.
That lady an animal. There are moments when I fucking love Ridge.
Ridge was just like, sorry, not sorry.
He's like, I'm not even sure I can get the sorry part out because I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
I saw an interesting theory the other day, which I think would be great,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no way they're going to do it. Somebody said when, Finn put his hand in Sheila's blood and then came up with the blood on his hand, that was the moment that, the switch flipped in his brain and he truly became Sheila's son. And now
Ooh,
he's going to be, I mean, I think that could be fascinating, which is how we know it's not going to happen.
very true. No, that could be wild. Like a truly wild
And
ride.
like they would totally not, he could totally, he's been such a good guy
Hmm.
that he could hide it and they'd never see the truth.
I feel like if if he has the chops like someone like Robert Scott Wilson did, because like if you remember, Robert Scott Wilson on Days was this sweet good guy. He loved on his Abby. He was just he was the greenest green flag there was. And
Hmm.
then he snapped and no one saw it coming
Right.
because he was still just like wanted to have that happily ever after with Abby.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, Finn, if they took Finn down this arc, like if he's got the chops, this could be a great story for him. Like this could be the
Right.
making of the character. If they did something like that. I don't
And
know.
I know. And it could be, and then, like he's fully in that and, Sheila contacts him,
Or
lets him know she's
or
alive and they work
or
together on it.
or they could do it where Sheila realizes he's losing it and starts appearing to him.
Hmm.
And he thinks that she's not real, but she's talking to him and telling him how to do these things and to do these things and making him, her perfect weapon
Hmm.
because he's losing his mind and she's the only one who
Yeah.
knows it. But because he's losing his mind, he thinks that she's not real.
Right.
Like there's a part of her, the psychosis thinks she's real, but the logical part of him thinks she's not.
Right.
So, there's like, so you never turn her in. You never like realize that,
Right.
you don't have to be like this because
Hmm.
she's alive and my wife didn't actually kill her.
Right.
And it would be an interesting thing to see if Steffi and Finn could make it back from that.
Right. Or Finn could make it back from it, period.
Yeah, the layers. If only B&B was the kind of show that could do something like that.
I'm just like, you would think
Mm-hmm.
that from the child of the minds that created these two great soap operas,
Mm-hmm.
something like that could come. And it's not that I think that it couldn't come. I think it won't come,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
It's not even Bell. He's executive producer, but it's Griffin. It's Josh. Because he's the EP and the head writer. He's dictating storyline.
Wait, I thought he was only on Young and
Oh
Restless.
wait, no, you're right. Y&R. Bell is, yes, sorry.
Belle is bold.
Yes, Bell is bold.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna say the Bell family, I meant the Bell, they created both shows.
Yeah.
So yeah, God, how did I mess that one up? Just
No problem.
totally crossed the streams there. But but even he won't,
Yeah.
because to be, for it to it would be an intricate story.
Yeah.
And you'd have to hit the beats and
My terror is that he's trying right now, and I'm worried that I mean, so far, you have a phenomenal actress on Young and the Restless. We'll get to the details of this, but you have a phenomenal actress that's making it make sense.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of it that doesn't make sense, and I'm terrified that it just never will. For the very reasons that you're mentioning are true of both him and Belle.
Mhm.
Um, but I digress. So yeah, no, it was a very eventful month.
Mhm.
Um, some of the stories that could have taken a little bit longer to marinate into their conclusions got rushed through. Sheila.
Well, it
And then
was sweeps.
some of
Sweep
the
for
stories
sweeping.
that could have gone a little bit quicker and not been as stressful and dragged out, Sunday versus RJ, stretched on most of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is.
Mhm.
But we've come to the end of the road on February.
We
Final.
have. And now we await what March brings. I mean, we saw a little of it today, but that's
Yeah,
for next month's podcast.
very true.
Actually, it's for next week's
Yes,
because next week starts our weekly podcasts.
that's very true.
Yeah. So stay tuned for next weekend when we discuss the first week in March
For Bold and the Beautiful.
for Bold and the Beautiful.
Yeah. You'll have to make sure you check out our final cut, which is the name of our Bold and Beautiful weekly recap.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but final thoughts for this month. It was eventful.
It was eventful.
And I will say it definitely ended with a bang.
Yeah, it did.
And I will say and I'm shocked I'm even going to say that, pleasantly surprised and intrigued to see what March brings.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
As
I
much
don't
as
disagree at
we're
all.
playing throughout this particular podcast, I'm actually really intrigued to see where all of this is going because we've already discussed the weird things that we think may be coming. So.
Right. I mean, with stories like these, the possibilities are endless. In
Yeah.
reality, you know, it doesn't
Come on.
always translate that way. But, right now, we have hope. Right now, it's Christmas Eve. And
True.
sparkly presents under the tree, something real good could be in one of them.
I'm down. I'm excited. But I feel like this was a very successful Laundry Day podcast for Bold and the Beautiful.
I agree. We
I
hope
want
you
to
guys do too.
we hope that you enjoyed our special brand of magic and will come and see us once a week or at least once a month because we'll be also doing these monthly recaps as well for those who don't want to do the weekly ride with us or can't do
Absolutely.
it. Sometimes you just get behind on your soaps and just need a 1 month recap to figure out where you left off and where we're going.
Absolutely.
So we'll be doing both and we hope you come along on the ride with us.
And you can also check out our website, pettyprattle.com, and see daily and weekly spoilers and daily and weekly recaps, as well as all the other soap news that we can possibly cram into that website for you guys.
Absolutely. And of course, there'll be the occasional, opinion pieces and op-eds and things like that. And, we also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Petty Prattle pod. Actually, I think it's the Petty Prattle pod or Petty Prattle podcast. Let me double check.
While
Sorry.
she's double checking that, we also have a YouTube page and channel where these will be uploaded. On our Patreon, you'll get them a day early, along with a few other things, benefits as well. I would love to hear any comments you have. Drop them in the comment section. And we'll be doing some YouTube lives as well. When something great happens on one or all of the shows, we'll pop in for some lives on the YouTube that you can check out as well.
Yes, it's patreon.com/Petty Prattle podcast. Capital on all the P's. Now, currently, we are going to be doing just 2 tiers. There's a free tier where, if we will sometimes put links to articles and things like that, or recaps or spoilers and things like that. But also, if you decide that you would like to become a patron, you can also take advantage of, our $5 Make Me Holla and it'll give you a 1 day early exclusive view of any content that we do, like our podcasts, or we'll also do, occasional special podcasts just for patrons where they can come and they can join a Zoom or something like that, and we can be able to, engage amongst ourselves. Um, and, when we get new patrons, we'll make sure that we announce you on the podcast of your choosing. That way you can make sure that, we're keeping an eye on you. We noticed you, we love you, and you love
Yep,
us back. Um, so definitely check it out if that's something that you're interested in.
absolutely.
Well, but I
And
think we've come to the end of the road here.
yeah,
Any last minute things you want to share?
I really think we covered it all. What about you?
I do. Well, I do believe this has been all for the Dirty Talk Podcast Laundry Day for Bold and the Beautiful February 2024. It's been a pleasure. This was Angela and Toni, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Love you guys.